Well folks, this is going to be a long one, so I recommend you push that pause button now, go and grab a coffee, tea, beer, wine, whatever, and come down, sit down and relax. Now I'm going to do something very different here to what I usually do. I've actually found this little Matchbox underground mining truck. It's sort of a flat little thing, and decided what if I can do some plans for it in SKETCHUP. That's Google SKETCHUP. Not very good at it, but I'll give it a go and see if I can turn it into something a bit bigger out of wood, like this. You'll find that I've also printed the plans that I made up. If you can use them in any way, great, but be wary, because as I made the model, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video, you'll find that I've made some modifications along the way, as I usually do. Beginning the superstructure here, I referenced it all off that one edge of the front of the truck by starting with the cab. That includes the beginnings of the front wheel arch and the base of the cab, or the cab floor. As I move away from that point, I'll reference other measurements up to that. So putting on the blocks now, well, not quite sure what each of these blocks is. One of them has to be the motor. Not quite sure why there's two, but there is, and so on they go. This is the front of the cab. I can't put too much on there just yet. You'll see why in a moment, but also assembling the left-hand wheel arch in situ, as it will be. Now, starting on the right-hand wheel arch, I had to assemble this on the assembly bench rather than on the model itself, and again the reason is we need to do a bit of cutting, which I'll show you in a moment. Now it's here that in putting this one together, I've actually added a small piece under here, not on the plans, because I realised that the wheel arch here needed a bit more support. So that fits under there. The wheel will go over the top of that, about there, and that really won't be very visible at all. Now this side's a little bit different, because there's got to be a piece cut out for this to sit with this edge flush with that edge. So a little bit of mucking around, simply a matter of marking it and then cutting it. So that's the width I want, and I simply got to put a line up there. Where are we? Gosh, stay still, will you? A line up there, and then flush with the base down the bottom, and I need to put line over there. Now here I took a 16mm hole saw, which will give me a 12mm circle for a little steering wheel, and put a 3mm hole down the middle of it. So I use a barbecue skewer here as a steering column, and picked a good spot at an angle, drilled a 3mm hole so that I could fit the steering wheel and steering column into that. The cab roof here needed a 45 on one end of it, which is where it fits up against the wheel arch. You'll see in a moment here that we put it in there, a little bit of glue on the columns, and there it is. Now this is I think it's a little toolbox or something. I'm just going to start the tray back for this mining truck, and my original drawings had individual pieces here for the sides. I decided to change that a little bit and went and did a layout instead, which would enable me to take it out of one piece. I could use my scroll saw. Yeah, just one little tip while we're here. Whenever you're assembling a model, and particularly a small one like this one, do it in the order of base, outside, inside. That way, if you've made any small errors of measurement or in cutting or anything like that, on the inside, you can always just size it up and redo it or whatever. Now, starting on the assembling the tray here, some little tabs that go just on the inside here. Don't you hate it when you get sticky fingers and it just keeps moving your work? Happens to me all the time. Now you see I put a small block under here which is glues to the tray and is the pivot point for the tray, but reason being is I need to get the correct alignment between the actual hole here and that block. So by clamping it together I can mark it and drill through. Now here's my drilling point. I'll be using a 7mm drill because I'm using a 6mm axle and it needs to rotate on this bit. Yeah, I had to make wheel arches to go in the inside of the tray, so I just took a scrap bit of wood and used a 15mm Forstner bit, which is the biggest bit, not quite cut through to the other side. And then I split that block into two halves for each side. I shaped them up into something reasonable and also just filed off the bottom edge of the arch to give a little bit more clearance there as well. Then it's just a matter of glue up and put them in. Yeah, before final assembly I just put a couple of coats of poly on it. This is water-based poly, very easy to use, just gave it a bit of a shine. The last thing to do is mount the wheels and the tray. And if you've been watching my videos you'll know that in the last video I showed, which was quite a while ago now, I actually showed how I made these. So now I get to use them. just spend a little bit of time just evaluating what I've done here. Now, really, when I think back on it, I probably would have from the outset said double the scale. It's really fiddly working with these little bits and pieces. But like all projects I do, I tend to modify it along the way. Well, with the tray, instead of using 6mm out around the perimeter of it, I actually used 8. Why? Well, I ran out of 6 and I had 8. The consequence of that was that I needed to put a spacer in on the truck bed here in order to make it actually clear these wheel arches here. I also sort of modified bits here and bits here. You'll notice that I added some headlights on the front. Now, they don't look anything like the headlights on the original model or toy, but that's just what I had. That's fine. I'm not trying to replicate something exactly here, and I think that'll do the job as is.